Well, good morning, everybody. In this video, I want to hit some of the highlights of the forecast here over the next couple of weeks for North America and then focus a bit on some international weather. Main stories today across the United States, really a lot of fog in parts of the Pacific Northwest. Another day of freeze warnings throughout parts of California's Central Valley. We still have our lake effect snow warnings here, especially off of Erie and Ontario. Some strong winds coming over the Appalachian Mountains. And today and tomorrow, we're going to be watching some pretty deep cold make it into the south. In fact, we're expecting over the next 2 days, or 3 days actually, to see frost events getting down here into southern Georgia, northern Florida, and then the surrounding areas. So some pretty cold air there. It's already started to warm up though in the plains under some southerly winds here after having single-digit lows, but the wind chills are still quite strong, and the lake effect snow continues to go across parts of the Great Lakes. I'm keeping my eye on a system that's just off the California coast. This is one that's going to be coming in like this, getting down into like New Mexico by the time we get into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, and then coming out here in the southern plains, creating a risk of some severe storms as we work our way over to the lower Mississippi River Valley. So all that's going to be coming up here in this near-term forecast. But it was kind of neat to watch some of the satellite data yesterday just to see under the cloud cover where that snow has been, plus some of that really dense fog in parts of the Northwest. And it's always great to see the lake effect going when those lakes are still quite warm in November and early December. Okay, so what's the high-res model suggesting here playing through the rest of the day today? More lake effect snow. There's a front coming through later tonight hitting the Great Lakes, adding some more snow to this, but working our way out there to Wednesday afternoon and evening. It's all going to be about where we can get some of the snow through that system that just rolled through California. Not much precip with it, but what's going to happen to it on Wednesday night when it comes out of the parts of the Arizona and New Mexico. That's where we're going to be watching the momentum from this storm emerge. Real quick, just want to show you what we're still expecting on the lake effect. So the heaviest snows here, better than a foot still to come off of Lake Erie, and then there's a spot here on the end of Lake Ontario that could still pick up another 20 to 30 inches as the lake effect continues to go. In the upper levels of the atmosphere, same story, ridge building into Greenland. This is going to help with systems developing up the East Coast. It would really help if we had another big one over parts of Alaska, but as it stands, that's the first shortwave to be watching this Thursday. It's going to roll through. Then there's a broader wave that follows it here. But after that, the pattern really turns back convergent across the Midwest, and the only spot that seems to get better flow going forward is going to be parts of the Pacific Northwest. Severe weather threat, this is for day 3, which puts us out there on Thursday. The Storm Prediction Center is now identifying this part of the Gulf Coast as having the highest risk. And to show you when that storm system arrives, let's take you back here and look at this again. So here's through Wednesday. Here we are into Thursday morning, midday, and then evening. So we're keeping an eye right here on the risk for those strong to severe storms. Now that system continues to pull through parts of the Missouri, Mississippi, and Ohio Valley as we get into Friday. As we play this out toward the weekend, we'll be keeping an eye on what it can do in parts of New England. Both models kick it out pretty quickly, but watch what the European model does once we get out there into Sunday and Monday. You see, there's a second system that follows this, and the European model early next week, look at this Sunday to Monday, is attempting to drop some pretty big snows into parts of New England, and there is some ensemble support for that. What you do notice is that through this entire time period, the Northwest gets the best onshore flow, which means we're going to be adding quite a bit of snow into parts of the Northwest as we play through this upcoming weekend into early next week. Models don't really agree early next week on what's coming through the Great Lakes. We'll keep an eye out on that trend as we move forward, but I feel as though we've kind of got a pretty good picture on these next 7 days as you just looked at this here a few moments ago. So total precip, looking at probabilities at grabbing more than an inch. It's going to be mainly across the south. It's the system late this week coming out here, spreading some of that heavier rain into this region and then into parts of New England, getting added to by the lake effect. But it's the Pacific Northwest that there's the chance at getting over 4 inches once that updates. There you go. We have some pretty heavy rainfall coming through here in the next 10 days with some good mountain snows. Looking at that snow, this is the 7-day forecast. Now, you know that the European model, this again is this weekend into early next week, really dumping snow in parts of New England. It's not there in the GFS. We'll watch it carefully. But I love seeing the snowpack building into the Cascades and into the Northern Rockies. We really need to see that getting added up in those areas. Looking out there, though, at the beginning of week 2 or the middle of week 2, flow still coming into the Northwest, but this is that convergent flow I mentioned in the Midwest. And what that does is that gives us a week 2 outlook that's a bit drier in the central United States overall in all 3 models, but still wet in the Northwest. So that's a pretty robust forecast. We've now seen that the last couple of days showing up like this. Here's the frost extent. So today is our last day for it in the Central Valley, at least in the near term, but we're going to be watching at least the next 2 days for some really cold air to get into the southeast. I mean, tomorrow morning's lows here on Wednesday. Look at that frost line down there pretty far to the south, and again on Thursday. But this will be the warm-up out ahead of that next system that's rolling through, and our high temperatures are going to reflect that as well. So here's today's highs getting into Wednesday, Thursday. Watch the end of the week. Friday, getting into Saturday and Sunday, a lot of mild air starting to show back up across the United States as we work our way out of this weekend into early next week. Temperature pattern overall, there's your next 5 days, but watch the mild air really just invade North America as we play through the first 10 days or so of the month of December, and then possibly extending a bit farther than that. So this will be a tricky forecast past mid-December. The MJO is sliding around, coming over the maritime continent. That's going to be moving it into a position that would be favorable of a pattern change for the second half of December. And you can also see here that the polar vortex has lately weakened. So I don't have a lot of confidence in any forecast out there for the second half of December just yet. I want to finish up with some international weather of importance. Our first map looks at the chance in the next 10 days of getting 2 inches of rain. Flooding continues in southern Brazil, but there's better chances trying to work their way farther to the north of getting the rain that's needed to keep this crop, away from disaster. Also better rains into Argentina. Maybe you can see that a bit better by looking at the ensembles. Now what I just showed you was the European. This is the GFS. So the models agree on this whole region here. Okay, southern Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. Where they don't agree is here, farther to the north. This is the GFS forecast, and this is the European ensemble forecast when looking out that far. If we can get that to load for you there. Here we go. I'm in Fargo, North Dakota. My internet's a little slow this morning, but you can see here that the GFS compared to the European, which is what you're now looking at, European's drier farther to the north and wetter into parts of central Brazil, the Cerrado, this region right in through here. Outside of that, Europe still dealing with a lot of cold air, although it's drier in through here, but we're watching some big snows again coming out of Ukraine, getting into Russia. And over the next 10 days, it's important to note that Australia is still showing up wetter as well. I'm going to finish with one last map, and it's around the Panama Canal, which over the next 10 days continues to show very dry conditions. So just a lot of moving pieces here. We'll keep you updated. I'll talk to you in the morning. Thanks.